Okay, so we're here with Ed, Rebel Farmer in Brook, Kent, just off the North Downs, near Wye. And Ed, as I was just saying, we're working here with rural Kent, looking at inspiring food stories related to COVID-19 and how businesses adapted, charities, social enterprises, etc. And I instantly thought of you and this amazing place, this wonderful project. And yeah, if you could run us through for a few minutes on what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're just here at Rebel Farmer. We've been really, focused on year-round nutrition and trying to grow it without the use of any chemicals or pesticides. And we're also looking at different techniques in sort of growing that nutrition, be it outside on the beds traditionally, or inside in a plastic polytunnel, or even inside a building where we grow our microgreens. But I could take you through a little bit of what we grow here and how important that is and how it's developed during the COVID crisis, because I think during the COVID crisis everyone suddenly thought a little bit more about their food security, and I think we did here too, and since our normal outlets like the pubs and the hotels all shut, so we suddenly had to refocus our energies on getting this food out in other ways, and that was using things like the Kent food hubs, where it's a community backed operation to try and bring together lots of local producers, and we sold plants and vegetables online during the COVID times through that, and that was very popular. There was a big boost to the Kent food hubs during that time, because there wasn't much food around basically, and people wanted to make sure they had access to good stuff. So yeah, that really developed into an idea around the microgreens, which has really developed into a real business, where we've been now supplying McNaid's, Good Shed and various other retailers across Kent, and continuing our sort of work with the Kent food hubs to try and get that food a little bit cheaper out to the consumer. But I can take you through the polytunnel. Come with me and I'll show you some of the things that we produce. We're really keen on sharing our knowledge here, and we've got lots of different ways of growing, different varieties growing, in order to try and really focus on what you can grow here in Kent year round. The polytunnel very much helps. There's a few plants here that have actually been here. The kale plants over here have been here since August last year, and they're still thriving. But a lot of the other stuff is come in now. We're here at the end of May, and finally the bad weather's behind us, and we've got a real sort of eruption of growth. We've got our tomatoes down here, which is one of my specialities, and this tunnel until this year has very much been a tomato tunnel, and we've been really concentrating on getting that really nice, juicy, nutritious tomato. We found that sort of purple tomatoes have got extra nutrients and things that other tomatoes haven't, and they have a different taste and texture structure, which is very interesting. And something I do concentrate on is some of these purple varieties. I do a lot of purple lettuce here as well. These are all our different heirloom lettuce varieties that we grow at the moment. It will get too hot for them in here fairly shortly, and we'll be growing them outside, but it's just given that little boost at this early time of the season is to get the lettuce started in here, and then as we go through we can show you a little bit of what else we're doing. So we've moved tomatoes into a brand new polytunnel that we've built this year, which I can show you here. Built by myself.
Fantastic. Really interested in what you're saying about nutrition as well. So of course, yeah, with the food security issue coming up through COVID-19 pandemic, on the face of it, it might be the most beneficial thing to just get any food to people, and there's a lot of projects that do that, but I'm particularly interested in the nutritional side of what you and the educational side of what you do, and how you managed to not only feed people through the pandemic but make sure they were nourished too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we sort of took on some volunteers. That was something that was new last year, and facilitating experiences in learning here in exchange for labour, and that's been a real you know, a way to sort of touch the community and get them inspired about you know, the nutritional value of food grown in these sort of environments. And we sort of, yeah, with the nutrition, we're really like with the microgreens, we've gone that sort of step further to be able to grow them in soil, which is actually not the regular way you grow them, but we've worked out by growing them in a sort of soil medium that we create not only a better shelf life, but we're creating a better product that's got more nutrition, and it's actually, as we're learning more about it, is we're learning how easy it is to grow. So we're sort of developing the idea of you know, these sort of grow kits where people can grow them at home, and demonstrations around how they do that using video or on-site demonstrations on how people can grow their own year-round nutrition just using a windowsill. So that's definitely something that we sort of developed during the lockdown, and we thought was very important.
Great, yeah. So we're not just talking about getting food out to people, we're looking at nutrition as well. But I want to talk about busting the myth, and I think you may have just touched on this, busting the myth that nutritional means expensive.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. I mean, very much so. That's not always the case. It can be the case, and but you know, I think nutrition should be available to all, and the best way of doing that is to get as many people growing as possible, and inspiring people to do so. And I think with all this food security, like, people are thinking about that more for the first time. You know, a lot of people started growing during lockdown, and I'm hoping that some of the things that those people have learned are carrying on, and they're trying again this year. But we'll wait and see. But here at Pharma, we really are trying to sort of focus on reaching out to the community by just by inspiring people to sort of look and observe what can be grown without the use of any chemicals, how we can encourage biodiversity and sequester carbon at the same time as creating, you know, nutritious food, and the more we can share that, and the further it can go, the better, really. So
and when you say nutritious in terms of these microgreens, I mean, can you give us an idea of how nutritious these are?
Well, yeah, I think the stats show that the nutritional density is you know, up to 60% more at the age that we crop these seeds. So you know, they're compared to their adult selves, they contain more nutrition when they're just 7 to 10 days old, which is an interesting fact that we can use to sort of show how nutrition can be available to all, and we can grow them ourselves. Yeah, it's really important.
Brilliant. You carry on walking?
Yeah. I mean, let me show you. We've got one of our volunteers here at the moment. This is lovely Jess. She's helping put some seeds out.
Hi, Jess.
And
you come from Margate, is that right?
I have, yeah.
Right. We're just doing a little interview with Ed about nutrition and how it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, and facilitating learning experiences. You're learning a lot here, aren't you, about nutrition and how we can grow it ourselves.
Yeah.
So how did you find out about this project? Sorry, do you mind me filming you first of all?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
okay,
right?
yeah. I found it on the Permaculture Association website because I was looking for permaculture, specifically farms, to learn just how to take it on in my life.
Wow, cool.
Because eventually I want to not do something on this scale, but, you know, live like really sustainably.
Yeah.
And I've just found Ed really like a great teacher, like a really good example of like how to start literally from the ground up, of just buying a place, having nothing here, but then starting from the ground up with permaculture, which is very much like
Brilliant. From the ground up.
From the ground up anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just, it kind of makes, it's really
So
inspiring.
is the ambition for you to take something similar on a smaller scale back to Margate, or just in your own
I'm
garden
not sure.
or something?
Yeah,
Right.
I don't have I don't have soil at the moment. I have decking, so I can plant a few things and volunteer here. But it's just the knowledge to take forward to the future, because it is like an amazing way to live. especially because it's not as much effort as gardening and breaking your back. It's like really, it's just symbiotic. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, the permaculture thing is actually something to chat about, because there's a permaculture is essentially an ethical design process where you take into account the many different aspects of ethics in how you design a process to grow, in particular, but you can apply it to all aspects of life essentially. And yeah, we're here sort of mimicking nature a little bit, where we're sort of looking at what grows at what time of year, and what likes to grow here, and what avoids damage from pests and throughout the year. And so it's very much sort of looking at all the different patterns, the cyclical patterns of the growing cycle, and using them, observing and using that pattern to the best that we can, really. And yeah, in here is a bit more of a formal way of growing, but also using a lot of permaculture methods. We've got lots of tomatoes in here, which is really going to help make it sustainably viable, economically viable this year, is to sell sort of good cash crops like these. These are all sort of heirloom varieties of tomato. We've got about 24 varieties, I think. There might be 20. There's a few more in the other Polytunnel, so maybe up to 30 varieties. But we're growing them in a method that's really non-destructive. So this local waste products on the ground here. We've got local pig muck. That's very nice old vintage pig muck that's put on top of the ground to sort of feed the plants throughout the season. This is mushroom compost in between the rows. Not only does it look nice, but it's actually going to inoculate the ground with the fungal elements that will sort of hopefully interact and create beneficial partnerships under the soil and keep feeding the soil. And we're very, very about soil here. It's creating soil. Engineering compost is very, very important to regenerating the land and sequestering carbon, and we're sort of just looking at all those different techniques here in order to sort of learn more about how we can encourage biodiversity and build the soil over time.
So addressing climate change is very much at the centre of your project as well.
Absolutely. I think it's trying to find some hope around all of the destruction that we see around us, and it's trying to to take the energy from those sort of negative feelings and put them into a sort of positive way of doing things, where we find a positive solution to every problem. And so the problem is the climate is changing, more erratic weather, we've got too much carbon in the air, so we're just finding ways to put carbon back in the ground, and we're finding ways to cut down on the destructive use of chemicals, petrochemicals, and carbon in the production of food. We need to look at a sort of small farm future that brings together the community under a food-based economy, and move forward with those sort of ideals of relocalization and getting more people into farming, which is a well-being type. It's a well-being. What do you call it? Thing to do. Yeah, it's good for you. It's good for your mental well-being, just being outside and working with the plants and the soil, and there's lots of benefits.
So do you think what you're doing here could be replicated in other parts of the country? I mean, do you know? Is there a network of rebel farmers, as it were?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are probably looking at the terms like regenerative agriculture and permaculture, as discussed with Jess, as sort of as guidelines in ways to grow. Soil's different wherever you go. You can be on the north side or the south side of a slope. You could be somewhere where it floods. So every place is different, but the design process is always the same. Just taking the idea of making it as ethical as possible and creating that design around non-destructive techniques. So it very much depends on site to site, but yes, this can be that idea can be replicated throughout the country and the world.
So what we're looking at through this project is ideas that could be replicated, and I know that obviously you're a social entrepreneur, and in true entrepreneur fashion, there is a way to make money out of a project like this, and it's not always the obvious stuff. So talk briefly about I'm looking at some what's that, heritage wheat, but also a teepee that's just behind it. Should we move
Absolutely.
over there?
Let's go and have a look at that, because it's been an interesting development over the last year. During lockdown, with my wife not going up to London each day, we had the time to develop the Rebel Pharma teepee site here, which is a glamp site essentially, and it sort of made the economics work around the idea of a small farm. There's not that much money in veg, you know, and I'm especially, you know, with my ethics of trying to get them out to people that can afford them. You know, I sort of had to look at lots of different income streams in order to make the business model sort of work and sustainable. So yeah, we purchased a teepee. You can see here it's absolutely beautiful, 21-foot teepee where we invite. We give exclusive use of the field to people coming down from London mainly, you know, but we've had people just locally come and stay with us as well, and come and, you know, spend a day in the life of the Rebel Farmer.
I'm booked in.
Yeah. and that's been really lovely to host guests and to show them a little bit about what we do here, as well as allow them to have some space and some time and some isolation from all of that, all of the horribleness of lockdown, really, you know. So we were very lucky here during lockdown that not severely affected, and we wanted to sort of share that luck. So we invested in the teepee, and that really does make the economics of the situation work. And it's we're really looking forward to having guests all summer again, and seeing lots of smiles on people's faces.
So I take it having that as an income stream allows you to accept more volunteers and deliver more education. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So we're you know, by having that, we've now got that income stream that allows me to you know, focus less on making money out of veg, and now focus more on enabling volunteer experiences and trying to facilitate those sort of events, and that can highlight, you know, some of the things that I've been talking about regenerative agriculture and heritage wheat. So the other thing that's going on is over here we've got, just next to the teepee is lots of different varieties actually of wheat. We've got a couple of old Kentish varieties right in front of us. There's old Kent Red and Kent Hoary here, which are sort of heirloom varieties that have been pretty much forgotten about with the modern farming. Modern wheat is grown in a sort of dwarf variety, and is actually very destructive to the ground and to the soil in the procedure of trying to create a strong white flour. You can be very destructive. Lots of applications of glyphosate, herbicides, pesticides, and of course chemical fertilizers, but we're not doing any of that here. We're sort of looking at a biodiverse seed varieties. Lots of, you know, the seed is of the same variety, but you know, there's some genetic diversity within the heritage seed, which is very important, especially as we have all the erratic weather and everything that we have around our climate change, and we're just trying to look into different ways of creating bread and pasta and all those things that we enjoy wheat with, in a more ethical way, and in ways that we can show how we can do it without the use, hopefully without the use of any carbon at all. We're looking into possibly even harvesting this by hand and trying to create a community event around that idea of learning old techniques that may well be used in the future as we reach peak oil, and look at relocalization of crops such as wheat. Yeah, very interesting project. Be really interesting to see how it develops. It's my first year of it, but it looks fantastic next to the teepee, and I'm hoping it will come through and be a lovely crop for the people, local people, to be able to enjoy local bread grown by Rebel Pharma.
Yeah, we'll come back for that one.
Yeah, that'll be later
this year. Can we have a
this
look at the green shed, the microgreens?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's go and have a
I know you're a
stroll
busy
back.
man, and that'll wrap it up then.
That's fine. Yeah, you can see we have a school next door, and which is really nice to have, and we're hoping to work with the children there to introduce them a little bit.
That's the forest school I can see right there.
This is the back of Brook School here, and it's they've had a forest school there for quite a number of years now, for a fairly established forest school. And I'm hoping to sort of like...
That's where to start all this education then, yeah?
Well, it is. You know how important education can be at a young age, and how influential some experiences can be to young people. So, you know, it'd be really nice to try and show them the ways that we can grow food together, as well as, you know, enjoy the woodland environment. So a sort of farm school idea would be fantastic. So,
does such a thing exist?
Not really, no.
Oh.
So yeah, we're just trying to sort of work on that one. Should we go and see the workers hard at work in the Rebel Pharma microgreens? So, you're going to be on camera. I was just having a quick look at what's going on in here. This is where we grow the microgreens. It's probably going to flash horribly on your camera,
That's cool.
But yeah, we're just boxing up, getting ready for our special distro day. Today is a Thursday, and we'll send out microgreens grown in this inside environment all
like
across Kent.
Plants having a party.
Yeah, that's it. They are having a party. This is where they all go out and get crops, and it's a big turnover today. But yeah, there's loads of different varieties we grow here.
So what sort of outlets do these go to?
These are at the moment going out to the Goods Shed and to McNaid's, the major sort of food retailers in Kent, Permaculture Farm, and also to the people of the Kent Food Hubs. This CIC, which helps bring all the local producers together. And
the CIC Kent Food Hubs, that actually, tell me about the 12% you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so a normal retailer will take about 30%, you know, Good Shed and McNaid's will put about 30% on that, a markup on what we charge for our microgreens boxes. But Kent Food Hubs are able to, because they're non-corporate, able to keep those costs to a minimum, and it's right down at sort of 12%. So, you know, I think 10% of that goes to the Kent Food Hub CIC to enable them to be able to pack and sort and administer the whole thing, but that other 2% goes into another CIC, which is the Open Food Network, which is a free open source software that allows people to order food online. Very, very world renowned already, and is only building year on year. So it was really nice to be and proud to be part of that sort of movement towards non-corporate food production and distribution. Yeah.
Brilliant. And how do you think this can eventually address poverty, getting away from this myth of nutritional food being expensive? Because if people go and buy this in the Goods Shed, let's face it, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
There's ways that you can. So we could look for potential funders where your time could be paid for, but you're actually educating people on how to get that 60% additional nutrition.
Yeah.
This film will be used for that, for those ends, you know. It'll be trying to get people to take notice of what you're doing and invest in it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think you know, I think that's education again. It's like if we feed that money into educating people about the benefits of growing in different ways like this, different techniques of growing inside and outside, and how just working like that can be beneficial.
You can do this in any kitchen, yeah.
You can, really. You can do this on it looks a bit flashy in here, but it's actually something that you can do at home on any kitchen windowsill. You don't even need outside space in order to grow these microgreens. So, you know, if we can teach people how to do that, provide them with the seeds and the know-how, then, you know, it's totally possible that we can encourage people to start growing their own nutrition and not think that it's unreachable. You know, I think it's all about the price of the seed at the moment. That's one of the main inputs actually here is the price of the seed. So we can find some way of getting that subsidised, and then that would probably create all that was necessary in order for people to be able to grow it themselves.
Fantastic. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, Ed.
No worries.
Anything else you want to show us? Or I think we've probably covered it, have we?
I think we're there, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's been lovely showing you around.